Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I will be speaking a lot more about the beginning of my life. In my introduction video, I did say that I wanted to speak to you guys a lot more about my life in regards to why I am the way I am today and the challenges that I have gone through to get to where I am today and the challenges I've overcome. The big thing is that I did start writing a book, and I figured I can finish this book and then I can, self-publish it and sell it and whatnot, make my buck, whatever. I would actually prefer to speak about it, let you guys see, my emotion, because that's something that, a lot of people don't see when they are reading books. They don't see the emotion that, the people are going through. And the reason that I am doing this book is obviously to get everything out of me, to make sure that it's out in the open, because I am someone who is an open book. And B, because I want people to know who are currently going through the same stuff that I've gone through, or going through similar stuff that, eventually it does get better, and you just need to keep going. You just need to keep going and never give up. So look, my book was going to be called Crossroads, but let me know what you guys think. I think I'm going to do it in 3-part series, or do it chapter by chapter. So this will be chapter 1, the beginning. I'll be reading it off my phone through to you guys, so let's see how it goes. My name is Daniel, and I was born on the 5th of August 1995 at La Sands Private Hospital. I am now 22 years of age, and that was as I was writing the book. So when I started writing the book, I was 22 years old. I'm now 24. And this is my story. So chapter 1 is the beginning. My story starts at the age of 13 when I was living out west in Marylands, Sydney, Australia, with my mum, sister and father. Now as a family, things weren't always excellent. My sister and I never got along, and my dad always had an angry temper. Growing up, my sister was always the golden child, as she would excel in school and was amazing at everything she did, which meant I always felt like I had big expectations to live up to. During primary school, I started off going to a school in Marylands, where I had a couple of friends, and I was quite happy at this school, as my friends were amazing and we had grown close together. And while being there, I made friends with both girls and guys. And to this day, I actually still speak to these people. Jewel, who's actually moved to Queensland, where I haven't spoken to her in a while, but last time I was up in Queensland, or down in Queensland, I did see her, and it felt like we never stopped talking, and we picked up from where we left off. So look, eventually I had to move primary schools. I moved to primary school, which was based in Greystanes. While being at the school in Greystanes, I did make some friends. In the beginning, it was quite hard, as I was coming into year 5. Now with making friends at my new school, it was a bit harder, so I felt more comfortable with hanging out with the girls, as by this point everyone was sort of in their own cliques because it was already year 5. So it was hard for me to make friends, as I was shy when I was young, which is a surprise, as I was quite vocal and loud. I was very, very shy, whereas now I just don't care what people think of me, and I'm just like, I am who I am. You take it or you leave it. After finishing primary school, I then went to a private boys' school in Greystanes. I was considered to be the weird guy at my high school. There was 3 different courts where you could play for lunch, and there was the stairway where you could look out onto the main top court. I mainly spent my lunch times alone, hiding from everyone in the school, in the exact same spot on the stairs every single day, as I didn't have friends. There were days where I would feel so homesick, and it was for the first 2 months, I would call my mum every lunchtime, being upset as I didn't belong, and I figured the only way to feel some comfort would be to set my wallpaper with a photo of my mum, as I felt that that's the only safety net that I had. Being at an all-boys school is never easy. Firstly, the fact that I could never make friends with boys, as I always found it difficult. And not only that, I had a massive secret that I didn't want anyone to find out about. While attending this school, everyone would always have to participate in sport and other activities I would never want to do. Sport was mainly the one thing that I always felt uncomfortable when getting undressed into my sports gear. Especially in front of everyone, as all the boys in my grade thought I was gay and everyone would think I was looking at them while getting undressed into my sports gear. So I would try to avoid that uncomfortable feeling as much as I could. Especially the fact that there was this one guy in my school who I thought was friends with, and he was saying, he would say a lot of vulgar words to me. Stuff like, you know, you're a faggot, you know that's what you are, all these other vulgar words, and basically now he is gay. While attending school, I wasn't the best student, as I was always getting in trouble and skipping school because I knew I didn't belong there. And being at a place for 8 hours and constantly feeling like you don't belong is the worst situation, and I wish I could say that there was a solution, but for me, my solution was avoiding school. I would always go to the counsellor, always. Any chance that I had, I would be at the counsellor as many times as in the day that I could. And while I was with her, I would try sit in the room for a few periods until the day's over, because I felt extremely lonely and I wasn't happy. The only friend that I had within the school was my counsellor. Always fake getting sick so that I could be sent to sickbay, so I could go home. As the school was a Christian school, the rules were very strict, and even though I didn't have friends, I would always fake getting sick so that I could be sent to sickbay so I could go home. As the school was a Christian school, the rules were very strict, and even though I didn't have any friends, I would always try to fit in. For example, one lunch I saw some guys that I knew, and I went to go and play handball with them. And things were going very well, but then they started finding things out about me that they didn't like, which then turned them picking on me and saying vulgar words as well towards me, which resulted me to thinking, do I just keep copying these insults, or maybe I'm better off alone? So I continued to have lunch by myself. I figured, why should I be made to feel that I'm worthless? Especially at the age of 13, 14, 15, I was being told that, you know, I'm worthless, I should go kill myself, and I just figured off, well, I'd be better off alone then. It was probably around the end of year 7, and I would always be getting in trouble to this point where I would get detention all the time. As being lonely, you start to muck up, and it really does have a massive effect on you. It did end up getting to the point where I got suspended 3 times. As you grow up, something comes into your life called, I guess, responsibility. Now, I never had that growing up, and I would always think it's everyone else who is in the wrong. But now looking back, I am taking responsibility for my actions, as I did wrong in this situation. Bullying has always been a massive topic for me, as I have always been against bullying, but going through it firsthand, and I know how it feels. I still remember to this day that school finished and I had to stay back as I had detention because I didn't do my homework. That was meant to be done, and where I was living at the time, my house was a 30-minute walk door to door, and I would always catch the bus home. But that day, I missed it, which meant I had to walk home. I left school and started walking home, and I was listening to my music. And I was in a positive state of mind, as I had left school and didn't have to worry about being bullied. Within 15 minutes into my walk, a car drove past, and they were yelling. I wasn't sure what they were saying, so there was a roundabout at the end of the street, so they came back around and started heading back. My heart instantly dropped. as they pulled the window down and started yelling revolting and degrading words at me like faggot and other hurtful insults. As they were shouting at me, I saw something coming towards my way and they started throwing rocks at me. I instantly started to run away and was holding back my tears as all I wanted to do was break down and cry. Luckily, they didn't turn back around, and when I got home, I didn't say anything to anyone, as there were issues going on at home as well. While all the problems were going on at school, there were also problems going on at home. As I mentioned earlier, my sister was the golden child, which means she always had a group of friends and never found it difficult to make friends, and she would always hang out with them, and because I had no friends, I would always tag along because I was lonely and had no one to hang out with. I would want to do things like go to the movies, and I wanted to socialize, but she didn't like that. I guess I was hanging around her and her friends for too much now, and she wanted to know that, you know, her friends are her friends, and I was fine with that. So eventually I stopped hanging out with her and her friends. While living in Maryland, there were some great memories that I still have to this day. Sometimes you have to take the good with the bad and try not to focus on the bad, but unfortunately the bad outweighed the good. In a house located in Maryland, as we had a pool, where at Christmas time the family would come together and all the cousins would hang out around the pool area, and I still remember to this day that we would play games. So we had a massive whale, like Free Willy. Free Willy's my favourite movie ever. So we had a whale like that was a blow up, and you know, the five of us, so Michael, Vanessa, Adrian, me, my sister Jessica, we would all try to jump on this massive whale, and there was no way in hell that we were going to get on it. And we played a lot of funny games, and I think growing up as a child, my favourite memories would just be of me hanging out with my cousins and all the times that we spent together, because looking back then, although all this shit went on, like I said, you gotta take the good with the bad, and I guess that was the only good that I had back then. So one day I came home from school and I was obsessed with the Wiggles, and I came home from school and my mum came and got me and said, she said, Daniel, there's someone on the phone for you. And I was really confused, and I didn't know who was on the phone, because like, who would be calling for me when I was a little kid? I was obsessed with the Wiggles when I was young, and basically got on the phone and it was the yellow Wiggle. And I was so happy when I was speaking to him on the phone. And I think I asked him at least 20 times for him to come over, and if I could meet him or if I could go to one of their concerts. And it was a really good memory, and that's something my mum did for me, and I'm ever so grateful for something like that to happen to me. But I guess eventually, you know, we left Maryland and moved to Pemulwuy as my parents were building a new house. So things were going well for a few months, and we had amazing neighbours who we would always go down to the park with to hang out and play basketball. So one day, my sister, neighbour and myself decided to go down to the park and play some basketball, and also play on the equipment as well. Only because we wanted something to do, we were getting bored being in the house. So we got to the park, and the three of us were the only ones there. And we were there for about 10 to 15 minutes, and my sister and my neighbour were playing on the jungle equipment, and I went over to the basketball court, which was less than 100 meters away from where they were. I was playing, and then about 5 to 10 minutes later, I saw this group of boys coming towards me, and they were coming to the park, and they eventually surrounded me and started saying vulgar and intense words to me, which I instantly got scared. They started pushing me around, which caught my sister's attention, and they walked over to see what the problem was. My sister and my neighbour stopped when they were coming over, because while the guys were giving me grief, one of them pulled out a knife on me, because someone at the school I was going to, I guess, had mentioned me and said some stuff, and these guys were against gay people, and they had a feeling I was gay from, I guess, what they knew. So as soon as they pulled out the knife, I instantly froze. I was about 14, 15 years old, and it was just a normal day walking, you know, going to the park with my sister and my neighbour, and then just out of nowhere, just these guys pulling out a knife on you because, you know, they think they know who you are, and, you know, they've heard all these things, and they want to hurt you for you being who you are. While that was happening, they were yelling in my face as well, and trying to make me really degradable, and they were trying to scare me, which they did. So eventually they did walk away, and I was really lucky to have walked away with no scratches. As soon as they walked away, we ended up running home, and I was crying my heart out. I was really scared, and I was in hysterics because of what just happened, and I had no idea what was happening as well. So as we got home, we explained the situation, and we ended up calling the police, and the police did end up finding them. That, at the beginning, is, that's just, I guess, the beginning. So that's chapter 1. Chapter 2, I'll read to you guys next week, which is going to be living a domesticated life. So that's going to be more about getting into domestic abuse and everything like that. And now look, I just want you guys to know, as I say these things, for example, my sister being the golden child, I love my sister to death, and she was the golden child because she had her life sorted, she had her shit together. You know, I love my family comes first, my family have always been there for me, and they're the, you know, the rock to my balloon. They are always there fighting for me. So I know throughout the stories, you know, it may seem like I am talking poorly towards some people, but in hindsight, they're amazing people. In the time of the challenges where I was growing up, the reason that they would be acting like that is because of my fault, because they tried helping me. And when helping people who don't want help, you get to a point where you just gotta let go, and you just gotta stop trying, because people aren't gonna be ready to help until they're ready to help themselves. So this is just the beginning of my story, and I hope you guys stick around to see what else there is. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys.